Hello, and welcome to How to Renovate. We are on episode 27 already. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to prevent delays on site. So, if you've been listening, you'll see that I did an episode number 25, on how to plan for supplier delays. But in this episode, we're going to focus on how you can prevent delays on site. So, this is when your renovation is in full swing. These are the things that you can do or should do at the start to prevent delays on site. So let's get into the episode. Everything I teach on renovations falls into my 5-pillar process, and the information in this episode falls under pillar 1, planning. You can find out more about my 5-pillar process at the end of the episode. Okay, so let's get into the episode. How to prevent delays on site. And number 1 is know the sequence of a renovation. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you will know that this is something I talk about all the time, and you're probably bored with it by now, but this is always my top tip for planning a renovation, is knowing what's coming. So familiarize yourself with the sequence of a renovation. And again, if you would like to learn more about this, I have a completely free video lesson on exactly this subject. So at the end of the episode, just listen out. There is some information on how you can get my free video training on the sequence of a successful renovation. And this also covers an overview of my 5-pillar process and the sequence in which I work when I'm working for my own projects and when I'm working for clients as well. So do go check that out. But let's get into this point. So if you know the sequence of a renovation, you are already ahead. You can then help prevent delays because you will know when you might have long lead times for certain items. You will know when the builder's doing something that might take a little while or take a little extra time, and you also know the sequence or the times which the builder might need certain materials. So if you're in charge of providing any materials or fixtures or fittings, if you know the sequence beforehand, you can prepare for that. So you can front load your decisions on those materials, particularly things like sanitary ware, taps, flooring, tiles, for example. If you front load all of those decisions because you know the sequence of a renovation and you know when they will be needed on site, that is going to prevent delays, because when your builder asks for those items, you will be ready with them. You won't be having to make the decision still at that stage when the builder's asking, because builders, they generally, I've found, don't tend to give you advance warning of when they need things. So I have had it where builders say to me, I need the tiles in 2 days time or tomorrow. And then, if I had not front loaded those decisions and decided which tiles I wanted way back at the beginning of the process, and even ordered them, because items can have long lead times, then you would be in trouble, right? Because you'd be suddenly having to rush around, going to shops, looking at tiles, trying to find what was available straight away. So that not only will prevent the delay, but also just save you that stress. So if you know the sequence, you'll know that you need to front load, you'll know when to order things by, but you can work backwards from your proposed finish date if you know the sequence, and you can figure out when or whereabouts your builder will be needing certain materials. And particularly if the communication is not great from your builder side, you can push for good communication. You really can. And in some of the episodes, I give you some really good points on how you can do that and how to best communicate with your builder to keep the project running smoothly. But also knowing the sequence yourself and knowing that in advance when your builder is going to be asking for things, it's really going to save you time. It's going to save you those delays. And it's also just going to make the whole build a lot smoother and a lot less stressful. And then number 2 is plan. I cannot tell you how important it is to plan your renovation. almost over plan it before you even start. And that is exactly why I've started this podcast, why I've got so many free resources on the website at southplaystudio.com. I really want to help you renovate better and just have a more stress-free experience, because renovating is stressful. It can be really stressful. So if you plan right at the start everything to do with your renovation, your floor plans, your purchasing, which contractors you're going to be hiring, where you will be living, everything, just plan, because being ready with your project plan before it even starts is for sure going to help prevent delays on site. So listen to some more episodes of the podcast. Head over to our website where you will find so many resources. If you go to southplaystudio.com/freebies, you will find some really helpful free resources there that you can use to help you plan your renovation, help you discover what you really want from your renovation. I also have some masterclasses there. Those are paid for products, but there's one on how to design your bathroom, how to design your kitchen. There are so many resources on the website. So go and check it out and plan, and be ready for your renovation. And then moving on to number 3, which is communicate with your builder, communicate with your team, with your contractor, your architect, everybody. Really have your communication ready and up to scratch when you're starting a project or when you're in the process of a project. And again, we come back to that knowing the sequence, because if you know the sequence of your renovation, then you will know who to contact and who to communicate with at various stages of the project. And then of course, when you know who to speak to about certain things, the correct person to ask to address any issues that come up or anything that needs to be done, whether it be your architect, a structural engineer, your builder, if you know the sequence and you know which professionals you need to contact, you won't be just going round in circles trying to find the correct person to deal with that issue. If you know the sequence and you know that you need to communicate with the correct person, then of course that's going to save you time, because you're going directly to the person who will be able to help you, provide you with the answer. Then that information then goes to your contractor and you can crack on. So knowing the sequence and communication really kind of go hand in hand. And then also agree a method of communication. So what I like to do on all my projects is use one method of communication, an agreed method of communication. So everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Usually for me, I use a WhatsApp group. So on the WhatsApp group would be me, the client, the architect, and the main contractor. So everyone involved can see where we're at, if there's any questions that need to be answered, any issues that come up, everything's on the WhatsApp group. And then the additional benefit of this is that you have everything in writing. So even if you have a verbal meeting, make sure that you go back on the WhatsApp group or whatever your agreed communication is. It might be email, and make sure you put it there. Make sure you put what was decided, what was said in writing on the group, on the email, so that everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows where you're at. And if any issues arise later on, for example, the builder says, oh, you didn't tell me to do that, or I thought it was this, that, or the other, you can then go back on those messages, go back on the emails, and have it there in writing. Moving on to number 4, which is make fixture decisions early and order early. So this is what that episode 25 is all about. Make sure that you front load your decisions. Even before you even think it's necessary, or you may think it's necessary to make decisions on which taps you're going to have, which tiles you're going to have, which flooring you're going to have. Front load all your decisions and plan. Because if you make these decisions early, then you will know when to have your items on site. You will be ready when your contractor asks you for the items. And again, they don't always give you kind of enough time to get everything on site. If you have to decide, order, pay, and get everything to site in time for them when they need to install it, usually they ask in kind of last minute. It's really up to you to know how long those items will take to arrive, when they will get there, what the lead times are, and also if you know the sequence, you can prioritize. You will know that you'll need your taps earlier than you need your tiles, and you can plan for that, and you can put your orders in so that everything is there and ready when your contractor asks you for them. It's not a big surprise where he's suddenly rushing out of the office to have to go choose taps because he needs them by tomorrow. So it really is important to make decisions early and also to order early. But go check out that episode 25. It's all about planning for supplier delays. So do go and have a listen to that one. And then in addition to fixtures and fittings, anything like bespoke made windows or doors, and sometimes metal work, carpentry work, anything like that usually takes quite a long time to arrive on site. So make sure you know the lead times for those, and again, so that you can work backwards. Ask your contractor when he'll need those on site roughly, and then you can work backwards and make sure you're ordering at the correct time so that they will arrive on time and not delay your contractor when he needs those items. And then number 5 is never assume anything. Boy, have I learned my lesson on this one many times over. You really need to communicate every detail when you're on a renovation project. It would be easy to assume that everyone knows what they're doing and everyone knows what needs to be done and when it needs to be done by, but I would say communicate every detail, over communicate, especially when it comes down to placement of items, like for example exactly where you want your bathroom sanitary ware installed. Obviously you'll have your plans drawn up, the contractor should be working to, but always check on site. Go on site, take a tape measure, make sure as things are being constructed that they are in the place that they're supposed to be in, because at that stage it's still quite easy to change and put things right. But if you're not checking and you're not communicating, those things can be quite difficult to change later on and also expensive. So really communicate every detail. For me, for some reason, skirting boards have been a big one. I've sometimes assumed that the contractor would just be installing skirting boards because to me, they're an obvious thing to install to finish off an unsightly or untidy joint between the wall and the floor. But you would be shocked at how many contractors, first of all, don't even include for installing skirting boards in their quotations, and don't even include for the supply of them. And this has happened to me twice now with a contractor. We've got right to the stage where the skirting boards are meant to be installed for the contractor then to say, I haven't included for skirting boards. And then obviously you need to make the decision on which skirting boards you're going to need, purchase all of them, which can be quite a big cost, and then of course there's the installation costs on top of that as well. So just communicate every detail, even things that you think are obvious, that you assume would just be obvious to install. Do not assume that it's obvious to install. I would say check everything, never assume anything, and communicate every single detail and put it on that WhatsApp group. So that nicely wraps up this episode, everybody. So hopefully this episode is going to help you plan in advance. Check out the sequence of a successful renovation so that you can be really well set up when you start yours. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next episode. For more information on my 5-pillar process for successful renovation, you can go directly to southplacestudio.com/pillars, where you'll find an introduction to the process which covers each of the pillars and what they cover. We also have a number of other free renovation resources. Go now to southplacestudio.com/freebies. I have created some amazing freebies for you there. There is one on the process, like we just said. There is one on planning permission. There is one on kitchen design. There is another one on lighting planning. Go and check those out. There's so much free information there to help you with your renovation.